So you may have read about this in the news, but just hours after we gathered here last Wednesday, a woman named Jimmy Rosa was released from this facility. Jimmy is 42 years old, married to her husband Marcel, and a mother of 3 daughters, all under the age of 10. She came to the U.S. from Peru when she was just 9 years old, and since that time she has been a permanent resident with a green card, which was renewed in July by our government through 2035. She lives with her family in Canton, Massachusetts. Earlier this month, Jimmy and her family went on a vacation to Mexico. Upon their return at Logan Airport, they were detained for questioning by Customs and Border Patrol officers. What reason did the officers give for pulling the Rosa family out of line to be questioned? None. Eventually, her husband, Marcel, and their daughters were free to go, but Jimmy was detained at Logan. What crime did the agents charge her with? None. According to her husband, the lead agent said he was, quote, doing an investigation into Jimmy. Within hours of her detainment at Logan, Jimmy was taken to Mass General Hospital for a medical emergency. As with all instances where a detained immigrant is hospitalized, ICE did not allow any family to visit her, did not allow Jimmy to make any phone calls, and kept her handcuffed to the hospital bed. Fortunately, in a moment of kindness, one brave nurse let Jimmy borrow their phone and she was able to call her husband, but she wouldn't see him again for 10 days. Throughout this time, her husband Marcel, who is a former Department of Homeland Security employee, called Customs and Border agents every day to try and find out where Jimmy was being held. The supervising agent who arrested Jimmy said he, quote, could neither confirm nor deny where Jimmy was located due to privacy laws. Marcel then asked about his wife's health, given her recent hospitalization and known medical conditions of high blood pressure, diabetes, and anxiety. The agent refused to say anything about her health, citing HIPAA laws, and added, quote, "We'll notify next of kin if she dies." Marcel hired a lawyer who went to Logan Airport, but agents at Logan said that Jimmy had no right to counsel, and they prevented the lawyer from seeing or speaking with Jimmy, who at this point was still unaware that she even had a lawyer. Jimmy was held at Logan Airport for 4 days without access to her medications or even a shower, and she was denied any form of communication with her family or access to an attorney. During those 4 days, she was rushed to the hospital a second time due to another medical emergency. After 4 days at Logan, ICE agents brought Jimmy here to Burlington, and those who work here did not allow her to have access to her lawyer. Jimmy was then taken to the Cumberland County Jail in Maine, where there were rats in the walls and leaking ceilings, and she was unable to sleep. Since the government still refused to say why Jimmy was arrested and imprisoned, her lawyer thought perhaps it was because of a sole conviction for smoking pot when she was in college over 20 years ago. He successfully worked to overturn this conviction in court and also filed a motion for her immediate release, given that she was never charged with any crime or given any reason for her detainment. At the hearing, the lawyer shared how, quote, the judge and the prosecutor were shocked at the way she had been treated, and Jimmy was finally ordered to be released. Her lawyer called the jail in Maine to speak with her, only to be told that Jimmy had been transferred, but officials refused to say where she had been moved. After 10 days, Jimmy's detainment ended just as it had begun, with senseless cruelty. She was brought back here to Burlington, and on Wednesday evening, in the pouring rain, ICE agents put her outside with no transportation and no phone. Jimmy walked right over there to the Burlington Mall, entered the Cheesecake Factory for shelter, and to search for a way to contact her husband. She asked strangers if she could borrow their phone, and in an act of kindness, someone lent Jenny their phone and she was able to call her husband. When her husband and her lawyer arrived at the mall, Jimmy, quote, couldn't even stand up. Her lawyer told a reporter that, quote, she was completely disheveled. She reminded me of asylum seekers who have been absolutely victimized. She was constantly breaking down in tears. She was trembling. All she did was hold on to her kids and hold on to her husband, and she just sat there and cried for 45 straight minutes. She couldn't even function. Back at her home in Canton, her husband has shared that Jemmy is, quote, crying throughout the day and not herself. The government still has not given any reason for why they arrested and imprisoned Jemmy or why they released her. Jemmy's lawyer has filed a lawsuit against the federal government for violating her 5th and 14th Amendment rights to due process. The lawyer told a reporter, quote, "It is a big deal when law enforcement violates the law under the guise of enforcing it. But I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States as an attorney. The rule of law needs to be respected. If it can happen to a non-citizen green card holder who's been following nearly every rule her whole life, paying taxes, it can happen to you. It can happen to anybody, and we are taking a stand."
Now, Jemmy's experience, yet again, shows how our government is targeting all immigrants, both documented and undocumented alike, without any cause or reason. Our government is able to implement this sadistic anti-immigrant policy because individual agents and officials are choosing to violate our Constitution every single day. Their lawlessness and cruelty is not just a pattern of behavior, it is their standard operating procedure. While bearing witness here for the past 19 weeks, we've heard too many examples that show how the cruelty inside this building is exactly what agents are hired to do. Some of you might recall when a lawful immigrant named Nixon was brought here to Burlington, and the cells were so overcrowded that agents shoved him in a small bathroom. They locked him inside there for 2 days, where he had to sleep on a floor that was wet with urine and feces. We remember when a woman named Yuri was held here in Burlington. 4 days into her imprisonment, she had her period. The agents denied her any menstrual products or a shower and instead gave her a bottle of water to pour on herself. We remember Marcelo, a high school student who was imprisoned here in Burlington in a small cell crowded with dozens of other men. He told his lawyer about one incident during which a guard pretended to open the door to the holding cell as if he was about to free the detainees, only to quickly close it while saying "psych," prompting laughs from the other guards. We remember when a woman named Crystal was imprisoned here in a cell so small she and 2 other women had to take turns lying down while one leaned against the toilet. The concrete floor was so cold that Crystal's teeth were chattering, so she asked the ICE agents if she could have a sweatshirt. They denied this request, and one agent printed out a photo of her face, taped it up on the cell wall with a note that she should not be given anything because she had already been asking for too much. We remember when a man named Jose was imprisoned here, locked in a cell that was so overcrowded with more than 40 people that he had to stand for nearly 36 hours. We remember when a 25-year-old woman who was 3 months pregnant was imprisoned here, and after telling the agents that she was pregnant, they crammed her in a cell with 10 other women, gave her a couple spoonfuls of rotten food, and denied her medical care. Inside this building and around the country, federal officials and agents who have sworn an oath to protect the Constitution are hell-bent on violating it. They pretend to justify their actions by telling us that all immigrants are criminals and enemies. Immigrants are not my enemy. Armed federal agents who abduct and imprison human beings and deny them due process are the criminals in any democratic society. We must voice our opposition to their lawlessness now and always. We bear witness each week to say that, yes, there are Americans who want immigrants in our communities. We're here to say, yes, there are Americans who still know that every person in this country, immigrant and U.S. born alike, has constitutional and human rights. And yes, we'll keep coming back here until those rights are fully restored and respected. I'm proud to stand with you to support the rights of every person in this country, because although many of us haven't sworn an oath to protect the Constitution, we're choosing to do our part in this struggle for democracy and justice. The agents and officials inside this building are choosing hatred and violence, and their collaborators are choosing apathy and ignorance. Let's show them what it means to choose truth, compassion, and nonviolent resistance. Our government agents and their allies stand united in a brutal solidarity. Let's continue to stand together in loving solidarity. Thank you.